Hi, this is Psalm Isadora, and today I have a very special guest to inform us about sexual literacy and tantra. And I'm really delighted to have Mal Viraratna, and he is a tantric expert in London and founder of the Tantric Journey School of Healing and Awakening. And so it's lovely to have you here with us today, Mal.
Thank you.
Thanks. I know it's a big time difference for you.
That's fine.
So Mal, one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about that I know that you specialize in is what we would call a squirting orgasm. And I get a lot of questions from women who don't really understand what that is or if it's possible. I tell women that there's kind of four main types of orgasm. There's a clitoral orgasm, there's internal, a vaginal orgasm, G spot, and then squirting orgasm. And the squirting orgasm is something that's very elusive for a lot of women. And I think a lot of times that's because there's just such a lack of sexual literacy because sex is taboo. So a lot of women just don't even understand a lot of the basics of their own anatomy and sexual response. So maybe you could talk to us a little bit about the squirting orgasm and how a woman could kind of try and find or locate that, or whether does she need a partner to do that?
Um, the orgasm and the ejaculation, I want to talk a little bit about this.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, we need to find out why women cannot have orgasms easily.
Mm-hmm.
The reason for this is orgasm is a positive flow of energy that's rising from the base of your spine to your crown. Now, if you have any negative, stagnant emotions in this pathway, then the orgasmic positive energy cannot flow because it gets disturbed or cut off by the negative, stagnant emotions. Emotions have been there because of trauma in the past.
Mm-hmm.
So now the focus is really if you can remove uh, the negative emotions from the body
Mm-hmm.
through body work or meditation or yoga or whatever, then when you clear the pathway gets cleared and therefore the orgasm can take place by itself without having to work very hard.
Mm-hmm.
So the focus should be really to remove the negative stagnant emotions from the body, not to focus on the orgasm
Mm-hmm.
itself.
Because
Okay.
you feel like the orgasm is just a natural, easy response
Orgasm
when
is
the.
a byproduct.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But the focus should be releasing negative emotion that's stuck in the body, but that's blocking the orgasm. Okay. Now,
Now,
orgasm
what do
can
you feel
be.
are the main blockages or negativities? Because that the statistic is kind of crazy. It's that a third of women have never experienced an orgasm at all,
Yeah,
and another third of women rarely experience orgasm. So that's
yeah,
2/3 of women who kind of don't understand their own body's sexual response or orgasmic response.
yeah.
So, what do you think? What are the main negative factors if you had to name some of the main negative factors?
Okay. There's a difference between the man and the woman.
Uh-huh.
Uh, Women are more emotional minded, so therefore they can get blocked by emotions
Mm-hmm.
more than men. So when women are subject to trauma, this trauma as a result of trauma, you get emotions get stagnant in the body because when you don't express and release your emotions when the trauma happens, then they get stagnant in the body.
Mm-hmm.
And it is this stagnant emotion that causes the problem, not the emotion itself. If you get angry, if you become violent and you get angry, then you disperse that anger. If you are sad, if you have a good cry, then you disperse the sadness. But our natural reaction is to suppress emotions as we develop in our culture and religion. Uh, More we become cultured, more emotions we suppress in our body because it is not politically correct to be violent in the society. So we suppress our anger.
Mm-hmm.
Then the anger gets stagnant in our body. Now these are the main reasons. This is why women get more blocked with emotions because the women are more emotional minded. So therefore, your orgasmic energy can get blocked from emotions. Now, the good thing about this women being emotional is when you remove the emotions from the body, women can be multi-orgasmic than the man, because women get connected to their every. Women can have an orgasm by stimulating any part of the body. Men can't. That's because women are connected emotionally to every part of the body. So there are advantages and disadvantages. So really, the orgasm really lies with to be able to how quickly you can remove your negative stagnant emotions from the body. And the emotions are not in your mind; they're actually in your cellular memory in every cell in your body.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's when I used to go to just talk therapy alone and talk about my problems all the time and everything that had gone wrong with me, and why I wasn't able to be happy. Before I found yoga and tantra, I was actually on medication for anxiety and depression, and I had a lot of suppressed emotions that went back to like trauma, and they were really locked up in my body. And I found that, you know, going in and just talking and talking and talking about those issues would leave me feeling more depleted and more negative. And when I started doing yoga and tantra, which had body exercises and special breathing techniques, that I felt so much positive energy, which later I actually learned you can measure scientifically as, you know, more serotonin and dopamine is discharged in the body through yoga or through tantra or through the special breathing techniques. And so when you actually have more serotonin and dopamine and these positive energy, then there's the strength to face the old emotions and let them go. Because it's very difficult to just try and face old emotions when you don't have enough sort of power in your body to handle it. So you have to have techniques to actually create more positive energy to be able to go back and let go of, I think, of these stored negative memories that are subconscious in the cells of our body.
Yeah, it's very easy. There are just 3 keys to remove these stagnant emotions from the body. Okay, the 3 keys are breath, body movement, and sound. Okay, if you see a woman having a orgasm in a porn movie or something, you will see the woman is making a lot of sound and breathing very deep and moving the body.
But it might not be a real orgasm.
No, but this is this is the natural reaction of having a full body orgasm.
Or what do they say? Maybe you can fake it till you make it.
You fake it, yeah. So actually, when you do yoga, you're doing body movement. Okay, if you do mantras, you're making sounds.
Yeah.
Okay, and if you do yoga incorporating breath, then you're using the 2 keys: body movement and breath. So it doesn't. So if you do this body movement consciously and the mantras with the sound, and then breathing at the same time, then what you're doing is you're unblocking the blocked energy channels in the body, clearing the pathway for the orgasm to happen. Okay, so this is the preparation. Yoga and all these things are preparation of taking the surface emotions from the body. The deep emotions come through female ejaculation. Okay, when you do yoga, the body opens. So first of all, it comes in 3 stages. First of all, it's the mind. When you talk and read books and see YouTubes and so forth, you open your mind. When you open your mind, then you give yourself permission to open the body. Right. Then you go and do body work. Then when you do body work, then you open the spirit, which is you open the yoni. Okay? So when you open the yoni and when you surrender the yoni completely, then you will be in a position to ejaculate. Ejaculation is a way of releasing negative stagnant emotions from the body. It's very similar to crying from your eyes. When you are really sad, if you cry from your eyes, you shed tears. If you take a teardrop and look under the microscope, if there is such a microscope to find out what's inside this teardrop, you will see molecules of sadness. So therefore, the more you cry, the more sadness you will release from your body, and in fact, you might even become happy. Same way, female ejaculation in Sanskrit, they call it amrita. So the more amrita you release, if you take a drop of amrita and have a look, then you will see molecules of sadness, fear, shame, guilt, anger, rage, mistrust, all these different emotions that you have collected throughout your life, right from the childhood and from your ancestors. Okay, and these will be released. So basically, the female ejaculation is really a very important part for a woman. It is no different to going to the toilet or going to a pee or having periods once a month. And the female ejaculation should be part of that release from your body, to be able to release your negative emotions from the body, to make you more positive, loving, and happy and successful.
Now, so I wonder how many women, I think every woman's body still is different. And
Yes.
something like, a squirting orgasm or female ejaculation is still, I understand what you're saying about it being a natural function of the body like urination, but I think it's slightly different in that every woman obviously does urinate, or there would be a very big health issue. So I also like to say it's really a journey, like to discover your own body and your own emotions and your own releases, and not to
True.
create some sort of idea that there's something wrong with you if you can't have a female ejaculation, or to say that once you do that, that everything in your life will be so great. Because I think that there's lots of cases of women who are able to have female ejaculation and don't necessarily have the healthiest lives. But I think that it's so unexplored for so many women. It's such like a mystery of what that idea is, and that to me is kind of crazy. It's like, here we have these bodies and they have so many functions, and our sexual functions and literacy, and that so many women haven't even explored the like a squirting orgasm or female ejaculation. And so that's something I highly encourage, is for women to be able to release the shame around sexual literacy and exploration and understanding of their own bodies and their own body's response. And then kind of every woman coming to what she feels most comfortable with, or enjoys the most. Because so for myself as a woman, I can have a squirting orgasm, and sometimes I enjoy that and other times I don't necessarily. And to me, it's just different ranges of experience. But it's nice to know the range, I guess. And it isn't that every time that I have sex that I want to have that exact orgasm because it's better or the pinnacle or the best. It's simply a different way of feeling the orgasm, and it does to me have a very different emotional feeling and response. But I think one of the reasons that the kind of that wet orgasm is something that isn't experienced as much is, at least in my experience, it usually takes a lot more of a strong stimulation. And that kind of very strong stimulation in the beginning, either the woman can feel like something's wrong or that it's too painful and not be able to relax. She'll perceive it as pain instead of intense. And you have to, I think, be able to shift into thinking, this is intense, and I relax in that intensity, and then the response is the wet orgasm or the squirting. Or the partner might be a little frightened of how, of how strong it's kind of a forceful movement that usually creates it. And of course, there's different ways that people experience squirting orgasms, but I'm talking about manually. So maybe you can explain, what do you think is the most efficient technique for women to try and experience a squirting orgasm?
I think you need to focus on not on the squirting, not on the orgasm or the squirting.
Yeah.
I think you need to get in touch with your deep emotion that's embedded in the cellular memory. If you can focus on that, when you say there are three things there, you got emotional pain in the yoni, you got the physical pain, and you got pleasure. Okay, so when you're stimulating the yoni, if you can focus on the emotions or the pain, or these are the negative things, negative emotions and the pain are negative things, and the pleasure is a positive thing. So if you feel negative emotions in the yoni with whatever the stimulation you do, when you come up with negative feelings, negative tension, negative pain, then you need to breathe in through the nose, out through the mouth. Focus on the pain, focus on the emotion, and just breathe in through the nose, out through the mouth, and you will find the pain will just melt away.
Which I think in that same way for women, it's similar to kind of like childbirth, which say, what will help you carry through you through a painful or seemingly painful experience is the breathing. So you have to really
breathing,
shift
absolutely,
the breathing. So and there's even something now where they call it orgasmic birthing, and the idea that even when women are having strong contractions, that they can either perceive them as only painful and then it becomes more and more and more painful, or you perceive them as very intense, and that if you breathe into that sensation that's painful, it actually releases into some endorphins and a feeling of being very high, kind of like a runner's high. You know, when somebody's running and they hit that wall and they feel they can't go on and there's so much pain in their bodies, you know, like stabbing daggers and aches and pains, and suddenly if they breathe different, they'll have a breakthrough and have this extremely high experience from something that a moment ago felt impossible to endure.
Yeah, and that is true.
No, but as far as an actual technique, I know you were saying don't focus on the squirting orgasm and focus on...
Yeah, absolutely. Focus on the pain, the pleasure, and the physical pain, and the emotional pain, and the pleasure.
But I understand you're saying that, but are you saying to do that during penetration? Is there a certain position that's better? Or are you saying to do that during manual stimulation?
When you're self-pleasuring, you can focus on your own. That's the best way to start. Because when you're having sex, then it's another matter, because you need a partner who will cooperate with you, who will work with you. You see, when you're having sex, tantric sex, it's not about doing anything. It's about being. You see, so you just stay inside the yoni without moving, without doing anything, but just being. You see, and when you stay there, if you just stay there for a few minutes, 5-10 minutes doing nothing, then the woman starts her own rhythm. You see, whereas if you start doing things too quickly or too fast, then the woman will lose her rhythm. So basically, it's so important to be present when you're having sex or self-pleasuring, but not to focus on the orgasm or the ejaculation, but to feel the subtle pleasure, subtle feeling of emotions, or subtle physical pain, and just breathe into these negative things, and the pleasure will just come to you. Orgasm, the ejaculation will just come to you. And this is how the yoni will surrender. So the partner has to really be in a state of meditation when you are having sex or when you are stimulating the female partner, to be in stillness most of the time. It's the stillness or very, very slow movements, that will evoke the emotions and the pleasure for the woman.
I think, though, that tantric sex can either be slow or fast. I think it's really about also that sense of a deeper connection. And once you can establish, like you said, a feeling of, I think, the rhythm and connection, just like anything in nature, like the ocean, sometimes it's very smooth and calm, and sometimes it's very turbulent or more. So I think kind of one of the beautiful things about tantric sex is this feeling of being more deeply connected to somebody.
More deeply connected and slow and taking the time, and then the speed will come later on.
Yeah, but I think that connection is so powerful. And one of
connection is very important.
Well, one of the things that I learned going to India with Tantra is that a big way to establish that connection, especially for newer people. I think once you've kind of found what that is, just like a lot of things, once you learn how to turn on the switch, then it's easy to turn on the switch. But it's if you go into a hotel room and you've never stayed there before, and you're like, where's the light switch? Where's the light switch? And then once you know where it is, you'll subconsciously have memorized it. You walk in, you know exactly what to do. I think it's the same way with Tantra is when people are new to it. Until you find where that tantric switch is, you do need like kind of simple breakdown steps, and then it'll become very natural in that it's always there with you. Like people tell me, do I always have tantric sex, or do I just have regular sex sometimes? And I said, it's all tantric to me now, because I feel like I learned how to turn that light switch on in my body. And so like literally sometimes shopping at the supermarket is a much more ecstatic, orgasmic experience, because that energy is now turned on in my body.
Life is an orgasm every second of the day.
Every second of the day. My teacher in India used to say, like, to practice Tantra is to make love to everything all the time.
Absolutely. All the time.
all the time. But when I first went to India, one of the things I learned is breathing at the same time as your partner. So when you are having sex with a partner, it completely transforms the experience to simply, let's say, let's both breathe at the same time, and your kind of mental waves go at the
Yeah.
same speed then, and your biorhythms start to move at the same speed. And instead of, being in your own head and thinking about yourself or what are they thinking about me, you
That's right.
find that deeper connection
And also
through the
have a eye
breathing.
contact all the
Yeah.
time when you make love. It's very important.
Well, I think
Eye contact.
I might argue with you on that one. I think sometimes eyes are open and sometimes eyes are closed is nice, but I think again in the beginning to establish the connection and
Yes.
understand the feeling of it.
Yeah.
I teach that a lot too. Is that like to have the eye connection, and you'll see people who've never done tantra yoga anything, and
Yeah.
if they just
Yeah.
try that for maybe a few minutes with their partner,
Yeah.
you see this shift come over their faces, and they're like, "Wow, that was a totally
Yeah.
different experience
Yeah.
of
Let
feeling
me
more
yeah.
intimate."
Let me tell you a little bit about the eyes closing and opening. What
Mm-hmm.
you do there. Now, what you do is when you're processing negative emotions, emotions have been there because of your trauma in the past. Okay? You need to close your eyes to get to the trauma and the emotions. You're doing this unconsciously so quickly, and this is why you are actually closing your eyes to feel your negative energies. And then, if you breathe while you're closing your eyes, then you have a much better chance of releasing those negative emotions quickly. And then if you open your eyes, then you find the positive energy will flow. That's the reason why you close your eyes sometimes, because you want to process the negative emotions with breath. You can't do that while your eyes are open,
Mm-hmm.
you see. And this happens very quickly, and unconsciously you don't even feel it. So closing the eyes is important to process, and opening the eyes is important to come to the present moment, to have the connection with the partner.
Yeah,
So
or
that's where you flow, the positive flow. Yeah.
yeah, or I think sometimes, um, even if you're having sex and it's especially if you're having sex for a while, if you're having sex for
Yeah.
45 minutes or an hour, it's more tantric sex. It's fast sometimes, it's slow
Yeah.
sometimes. That when I close my eyes, it's so that I can just feel that energy inside myself. I can feel all that pleasure kind of moving inside myself when I close my eyes, and during that time, it really is my own experience more,
Yes.
even if it's
Sure.
during penetration. And then when I
It is
open
your
my eyes,
experience. That's right. Yeah.
then it's really about the connection and
Yes.
the partnership
Yes.
together, and
Yeah.
that I kind of enjoy going back and forth, in
Sure.
the same
That's true. Yeah.
lovemaking session as sometimes
Yeah.
really just being kind of almost alone
Yes. Yeah.
for a
Yeah.
moment with just this feeling of the ecstasy, and then
Yeah.
to enjoy the
True. Yeah.
connection. And it's kind
Yeah.
of amazing because I think usually we aren't aware in a normal day how many times we kind of go back and forth between connecting and coming into ourselves. But I think we
Yes.
probably don't do either one very fully. Like
That's right. Yeah.
we're just I think most of the time we're just so overwhelmed by life
Yeah.
that we kind of are slightly disconnected from ourselves and
Yeah.
disconnected from
Yeah.
other people.
That's true.
And
Yeah.
that sex is actually, in Tantra, one of these deep opportunities for human beings to get to connect into ourselves more and
Yeah.
connect with each other more, because sex is such a powerful experience that it can literally stop all of our normal, like habits and thinking.
Yeah.
And for that little
Definitely.
bit of time, we can actually have a totally new experience. Or I think what you're talking about a lot too is how do we take our habits of negative thinking and create new positive thinking? And one of the best places to do that is during sex, because during sex you're creating new neural pathways and an opportunity to change from negative to positive.
Actually, during sex, you do all these things by breathing. When you have sex, you breathe.
Mm-hmm.
Deep, and by breath, you get rid of the negative energies, and you move your body, and you
Mm-hmm.
make sounds. You see, with the sounds and the breathing, you disperse the negative energies, clearing the positive pathway. And then, when you actually move your body, you move the positive energy throughout your body. You see, so it's basically these three keys that you use all the time when you make love, and also when you have sex, you have the three things: connection, love, and then trust. When you
Mm-hmm.
establish these three things before you actually go to bed, even from yesterday, you start connecting and loving, and then having this trust. Then when you go to bed, it makes it that much easier to have sex because you already have this connection a few days ago or weeks ago.
Right. Hopefully. But some people have very good sex and don't get along the rest of the time. And
Yeah.
some people get along really well and don't have very good sex. What do you say to that? I have a lot of couples who'll come to me and they get along really well as far as trust, friendship, partnership, but they don't
Yeah.
have a lot of sexual excitement for each other anymore because they've
Yeah.
been together so long. So there's a lot of
Yeah.
trust,
Yeah.
but not a lot of excitement. And
Yeah.
then, and
What
and then,
happens? What happened in this case is, when you actually first start a relationship, you have a fire,
hmm
and this fire goes off after a few years. The fire goes off. So you need to do a lot of tantric rituals to keep the fire on all the time. Eye gazing and
hmm
touching, smelling, tasting, talking and hearing nice things. Basically, you stimulate all the five senses throughout your life, and then also you surrender yourself, to your partner. Then the fire will be on, because the fire goes off very quickly after a short time of the relationship. But with the tantric rituals, you can keep this fire going all the time.
yeah, I think people have to be willing to give more effort to sex. I say that a lot. Is like, and I think because we have a taboo around sex, people don't really know how to really talk. They complain about it. You see a lot of, we never have sex anymore, and it's because we had kids, or it's because, but they don't actually find tools to make those changes. So they're spending time talking and complaining, but not time trying to do these tantric, techniques and tools and
Tantric
rituals.
techniques and rituals are very important,
Yeah.
for a relationship. And also, every woman must learn how to receive a yoni massage, and every man must learn how to give a yoni massage. This is very important and very powerful, you see.
Yeah, I agree. I
And
mean, when I went to India, we actually, in an older way, that was called a yoni puja, or a
yeah,
ritual of, worshiping a woman as a
yeah,
goddess and her sexual energy as a goddess, which is very beautiful.
it's beautiful.
And
Yeah,
and it really comes from a time before religion created a stigma around that, and actually was
yeah,
part of connecting to God, was connecting with each other through intimacy and
yeah,
that kind of respect of sexuality. And so I did actually, I created a video series to teach women how to receive a yoni massage, or a tantric massage from men, and for men how to give that tantric massage to the women, because I
yeah,
wanted to bring these very kind of ancient tantric ideas that are thousands of years old, but just give them to modern lovers to be able to
yeah,
have to be able to have this effect immediately. And I have one of my clients recently. It was a couple, and they're married, and they've been married. They get along. They're like that example. They get along really well, but the sexual excitement was gone, and she actually ended up cheating on him with somebody. And of course, there were other dynamics to that, but to help them kind of rebuild trust, and also to build up that sexual response with each other, they started doing the yoni massage or the tantric massage videos. And I just got a message from the man today, and he said it's really helping them to
yes,
connect better.
definitely.
And it's
Or
kind of beautiful,
yeah,
like you said, because in that situation they have negative emotions from her having an affair. So a
that's
lot of
right.
people then end up, like being so angry they can't release the negative emotions
Yes,
around the affair, and so nothing
yes,
gets better.
yeah,
But doing that again, now they're doing this tantric massage, and he may feel negative emotions of his
yeah,
anger or fear or distrust for her, and she may feel kind of guilt and resentment. But they're doing that through tantric touch and through erotic kind of connection, not just
that's
sitting.
true.
Because a lot of couples then go to therapy and talk about, an affair or something that went wrong or a sexual disconnection, but they're just talking about it, and it just builds up more and more and more negative feelings without any pleasure. But to
Yeah,
be able to do something that creates pleasure at the same
yeah,
time is so important.
Yeah. Can I also add, so a lot of the relationship I find they break up not because of the man and the woman, the problem with the man and the woman.
Uh-huh.
I find a lot of relationship break up because the partner is triggering the old trauma of the person. So
Mm-hmm.
when you trigger, then the partner projects onto him the old trauma, and then they go off the partner. You see.
Mm-hmm.
So yoni massage will deal with that and release these past traumas and the emotions, which is in the G spot or in the sacred spot of the woman. And if a man actually does the yoni massage even once a month, on the day you do the yoni massage, you mustn't have sex. It should be just purely to heal her, to open the yoni and to heal and help her to release Amrita.
Mm-hmm.
Then this is very, very helpful for the woman to release these emotions. And then she could let go of this past trauma and the emotion. Now, when you talk about the squirting, there are two types of squirting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, a lot of people know only that you can squirt from the G spot, but there's another spot called A spot,
Uh-huh.
and that's inside the cervix, near the cervix, just on top of the cervix.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you actually ejaculated from that point, that's the place that you have got a heart connection. So
Mm-hmm.
if a relationship is really sour, and if you go deep into the cervix and very gently massage this just on top of the cervix, then you will release a lot of heartaches that the woman had, uh, anything to do with sadness or heart. Then that that particular problem could be solved, and you could become very loving. The heart will start opening again to the person who is actually doing this healing work.
Mm-hmm.
So you can actually squirt from two places: one from inside the yoni,
You mean and the G
from the A
spot. So for
spot.
people who don't know where to find the G spot, it's usually
G spot is only about 1 inch or 2 inch inside the yoni, on towards the pubic bone.
mm-hmm.
But the A spot, you need to put the finger in and then open it like A inside the yoni into the
Mm-hmm.
cervix, on the roof of the cervix. That's the A spot, and women can ejaculate from there. It's the way you ejaculate from there is not like squirting. It's like just flowing like a river. So when you squirt, it's coming from the G spot.
Mm-hmm.
When it's flowing like a river, then it's coming from the A spot. And so there are two different types of ejaculation. In ancient Chinese script, they talk about three waters, and these are the three waters. One is just you're getting wet from the
Mm-hmm.
lips. That's the first water, and the second water is from the G spot, and the third water is from the A spot. So we
Mm-hmm.
have three types of water that women can release,
Mm-hmm.
and they all do different jobs.
Well, and they all
Each
I think
release
have
is
different like emotional
the
feelings and
G spot is
responses.
G spot is doing the emotional release, and the A spot is doing a heart release, heart connection. I don't know whether you heard Catherine Oxenberg was talking about this heart connection. She had a heart orgasm.
Mm-hmm.
Now that happens when you actually go deep into the cervix and massage the cervix. Then you can have a heart orgasm,
Yeah,
and you
yeah.
can really get a bond with the partner who make that happen to you.
Yeah, I think internal vaginal orgasms in general have a deeper heart connection, whereas
Yes,
clitoral
that's because it touches
orgasms
the cervix.
are
Yeah.
just more create more of a high. And I don't think there's anything
Yes.
wrong with that. I think it's unfortunately I meet a lot of women who think they're like, oh, I can only have a clitoral orgasm, but clitoral orgasms, there's nothing wrong with it. I think there was a problem. From a masculine perspective of Freud making women feel ashamed about that or feel like there's something wrong. They're actually just very different experiences, that the clitoral orgasm is a much more kind of high energy and of that, and then the internal is a little bit deeper and more of a heart connection. They
Yeah.
just serve different feelings and purposes,
Yeah.
like different kinds of music. Like a drum
Yeah.
isn't
Yeah.
better than a flute. They're
Yeah.
just different. And what's
Yeah.
nice is if you could learn, here's a flute, here's a drum, what do you want to do?
Yeah. It's like there are three gateways. You need to have the clitoral orgasm to get access to the G spot,
Mm-hmm.
because you can't get access to the yoni without stimulating the clitoral. So you
Mm-hmm.
need to arouse the clitoral to open the first gateway to the G spot. And when you stimulate the G spot and when you release Amrita from the G spot, then you get access to the heart area, which is in the cervix.
Mm-hmm.
So you go step by step, opening each door at a time. And if a woman doesn't have any of this orgasm, it doesn't matter, because it's not a big problem. It's because no woman is without negative emotions in the body. Every person has got. It's not about not having orgasms or not. It's about how many negative emotions are stagnant in your body. That's the issue, really. It's not about the orgasm.
Well, there's also
If you can
something.
remove
There's
these
something
negative
very.
emotions, then orgasm will happen by itself
Well,
without even trying.
there's also something very interesting, though, in that you can have, as a woman, you can have a lot of negative emotions and trauma, but have learned to be hypersexual, meaning you don't have less negative emotions. It just means you can bypass the emotions that are negative to get high from the sexual response. So I had, sexual trauma, but I was able to have orgasms and probably more orgasms because what I learned was, for all those negative emotions, if I could get to an orgasm, I'd be so high I wouldn't care about the negative emotions. But when I came back down from being high from the orgasm, I was back where I started with those negative emotions. So in my case, negative emotions didn't stop me from having an orgasm. If anything, it was almost like the orgasm became a drug. So I was like, here I am in this negative state,
Yes.
and I can have sex and orgasms to like a drug to get high, and it's like having a glass of wine. It's like I forget about those problems for this period of time, but then of course I would return back to that place I started, and sometimes even worse because then I was using sex not in the healthiest way. So I say there's a lot of women, I feel like we can go into these two categories of the hypersexual woman who's learned how to have orgasms, whether there's negative emotions or not. And then there's hyposexual women who, when the negativities come up, they back away from the orgasmic experience.
Yeah.
So
I'll explain this. This is very true what you're saying. What happens is when you become multi-orgasmic all the time, what you're doing is you are sending a wave of positive energies throughout the body. Then if you have any negative energies in the body, you are making the negative energies transform into positive energies. So having lots of orgasms is really good. Because
right, but I'm saying
from a
not
negative
always.
person become a positive person.
But I would tell you not always, because there's a lot of women who have multiple orgasms, but it isn't necessarily healing. It's another function to then learn how to heal, because there's a lot of women who have multiple orgasms and get to that state, but instead of it being truly positive and healing, it just becomes an escape. So that's what I was saying is I had multiple orgasms, and so but it didn't necessarily heal me until I learned, like, that for me was what Tantra was, the deeper connection part. I didn't go to Tantra and learn multiple orgasms. I was naturally having multiple orgasms, but still having trauma, still having negativity. And through Tantra, I learned how do I have deeper connections to heal in me, and then deeper connections to heal with intimacy and connecting to other people. Yeah. And that it just was that, to me, the healing wasn't that I needed the orgasms, it was that I needed to learn, like how to
release your negative emotions from the body.
Yeah, not just keep.
Once you learn how to release the negative emotions from the body, that's in the fast track, then you can become multi-orgasmic by itself without even trying.
Mm-hmm.
So the focus is really to do a lot of yoga, meditation, breath work, mantras, do all the tantric rituals, and see if you can start activating your female ejaculation, the squirting. And when this happens, every time you squirt, you release your negative emotions from the yoni. I call this yoni crying. Mm-hmm. So it's same as crying from your eyes. When the yoni cries, you release a lot of negative emotions, and as a result, you become very positive. Then the yoni, you'll have a very positive yoni. Mm-hmm. And this is really the journey.
Well, Mal, that's amazing, and I'm looking forward to teaching some workshops with you in the future. We've talked about doing that over in Europe, so I'm looking forward to that. But how can people find you and your work in the meantime?
Okay, my website is www.tantricjourney.com.
Okay, great. And I know that I've got like a lot of resources in the store there, and
everything what a woman wants, everything is there.
And what the men need to learn, right? What the woman wants.
Tantricjourney.com.
And what the men need to learn. Okay.
What men needs as well, yes.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for
thank you very much.
Coming on the show today and giving us such great information. Really, really enjoyed getting your perspective and a male perspective as well. So thank you, Mal.
Nice talking to you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.